Why do you think Black communities have traditionally avoided therapy?
I feel like there was a lack of the knowledge base, right? So we didn't really have the resources to explore therapy. And for those Black folks who did have the resources, aka finances, good health insurance, etc., um, the
Because
knowledge base was lacking.
you can't do it if you got the basic package, the basic healthcare package, because you don't want them taking too much out of your check. You can't. It doesn't
Which is
cover it.
also unfortunate because
Yeah,
it should come in a standard health insurance
and
package.
it doesn't.
Unfortunately, it doesn't.
It's a little bit of extra.
Right.
Do you see a lot of Black and brown people in your practice?
I do.
Do you?
I do. Fortunately.
Fortunately,
Fortunately.
okay. Are they happy to see you too? Oh,
Yeah.
I'd imagine.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to see you. All right, man. Moving on. Culturally and generational mistrust of medical and mental health institutions. Can you speak on that? I know we don't want to go as far as the Tuskegee experiments, but along those lines, do you feel there's been a distrust?
Uh, Absolutely.
What do you
Yeah.
think? Okay.
Because I'll start off with representation matters. And unfortunately, there isn't a lot of representation in general historically, but especially within the mental health space. So to not be comfortable speaking about past traumas and then have to do so with someone who can't necessarily relate to you culturally, that's a hindrance. So it keeps people away. I've heard people say, well, why am I telling a white person my problems? They can't relate. They don't know what I'm talking about. I feel like I have to perform for them so that I'm not judged. And historically, that has happened. I've had clients come to me and say they've been hospitalized because they thought that they were in a manic situation because they were speaking passionately. So, representation, race wise and culturally, it matters.
Mm, that's powerful. We have a question for discussion. Um, when did you first hear someone say Black people don't do therapy
In my family.
in your family? Really?
Yeah. So when I was younger, I actually told my mother that we should go to therapy because I don't know if you have a Caribbean
How
audience.
young is young?
I was in high school.
Wow.
Yeah. I
You
was about 16.
you felt as though you and your mama needed therapy.
Yes.
Y'all was beefing like
We
that?
was beefing.
Wow.
We was beefing. And it's that age, like you're a teenager. Caribbean people, we say like, oh, you're smelling yourself. So you feel like you know everything. You know the best direction you should take for yourself. And also you're trying to find your autonomy. So culturally, the mother is what I say goes, don't question me, etc., etc. So I told my mom, I said, we keep going back and forth. You're not hearing me, I'm not hearing you. We should go to therapy. And she was like, therapy for what? We're not crazy. So she shut it down immediately, and that was my first time hearing that.
Gotta love Caribbean moms, man.
Listen, I love my Caribbean mom.
My mama African. I love her too.
Good.
We love the moms.
Yes.
But tell us more about your particular practice as well as what you were doing before that. We now know that you do own a safe space. NP. What's the NP stand for?
Nurse practitioner.
There it is. Okay, so a safe space nurse practitioner in psychiatry. Okay, now what's the PLLC stand for?
So it's a professional limited liability corp.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's
You
the
just put the
license.
it's an
Yeah.
LLC, but you put the P in there.
Yes.
That's important.
It's an extra layer of
Okay.
protection. Yeah.
And when did you launch your own practice? And what were you doing before? Were you kind of working with an organization before, or?
Yes.
Okay.
So I've worked with multiple private practices, in person and also virtually. And working for other practices, it helped me determine what I would want my practice to look like and what I would not want my practice to look like or embody.
Okay.
So when you're working in someone else's space, you have to abide by their policies and their procedures. And ultimately, the bottom line is what matters. It's a business at the end of the day. So I found myself in situations where I was placed in positions where I felt uncomfortable and I felt like I was being highly or strongly encouraged to care for people that weren't necessarily appropriate for a virtual space.
Explain. What does that mean exactly?
if we are presented with a client who is currently in psychosis, so that means that they are having auditory and visual hallucinations. They are hearing and seeing things that may not be there. They could be hearing voices telling them to kill themselves, etc. That typically requires a higher level of care, which means they need to be either hospitalized or they need at least to see someone in person that can offer them different or multiple services. We can't necessarily do that in a virtual space, but if their insurance is covering the visit and the practice is going to get money from it.
Cash flows everything around me. Cream getting money. That's what they say.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That's what they say.
But not at the sacrifice of providing safe care.
That is, look at you. You a Christian?
Yes.
You a Christian?
Yes.
I can tell. I can